The Supreme Court just came down with its biggest Second Amendment ruling in more than a decade.
Gun rights are at the forefront of discussion today as the U.S. Supreme Court issues a major ruling.
It's not the gun owner, it's not the pistol permit holders, it's the criminals that are causing the violence and the gun problem.
All right, we've got this breaking news just coming into our newsroom right now. The Supreme Court has issued a ruling.
The federal government just made a move that changes everything for 100 million gun owners. And if you're one of them, what happened this month affects you starting right now. A federal court ruling has completely rewritten the rules, and most people have no idea these changes are already in effect. Here's what makes this so urgent. Something that would have landed you in handcuffs and facing federal charges just last month is now perfectly legal. Police departments are scrambling to retrain officers, state governments are filing emergency appeals, and gun owners who don't know about these changes are missing out on protections that could save them from wrongful arrest. We're talking about 10 massive changes that flip decades of gun control on its head. And the 10th one is causing absolute chaos in states that thought they had gun owners locked down tight. Let's start with the foundation that makes everything else possible. Your Second Amendment rights just got elevated to the highest level of constitutional protection in American law. This isn't some minor adjustment. This is the same bulletproof protection given to your freedom of speech and freedom of religion. What does this actually mean when a cop pulls you over, when a new law gets proposed, when someone tries to restrict your rights? Everything changes. The government can no longer pass gun laws based on what might reduce crime or what makes people feel safer. Those days are over. From now on, they have to meet 3 impossible standards. First, they need rock-solid evidence of an actual crisis, not statistics they manipulated, not surveys about how people feel, real evidence that would hold up in federal court. Second, any law has to target only that specific problem without affecting law-abiding citizens. No more casting wide nets that catch everyone. Third, they must choose the method that restricts your rights the absolute least. If there's a less restrictive way to achieve the same goal, they have to use it. The power dynamic just flipped completely. You don't have to justify why you need your rights anymore. They have to justify why they should be allowed to take them away. And the bar is now so high that constitutional lawyers are saying over 400 federal gun laws could get struck down in the coming months. But here's where it gets really interesting. Police officers who violate these new protections can't hide behind their badges anymore. For over 40 years, something called qualified immunity gave officers a get-out-of-jail-free card when they violated constitutional rights. Even when they clearly broke the law, courts would protect them unless there was a previous case with nearly identical facts. Think about how rigged that system was. You couldn't sue an officer unless someone else had already successfully sued for the exact same violation. But nobody could successfully sue because there was no precedent. It was a perfect circle of protection for bad cops. That protection just got shredded. When an officer violates your gun rights now, they face consequences that would have been unthinkable just weeks ago. Personal lawsuits that drain their bank accounts, federal prosecution, permanent loss of their law enforcement career, even criminal charges in serious cases. This isn't theoretical. In Harris County, Texas, 3 deputies just got hit with a $2.4 million judgment they have to pay out of their own pockets. Their crime? Arresting a man who was legally carrying at a gas station. The department can't cover it. Their union can't protect them. That money comes straight from their personal assets. Now let's talk about the law that had gun owners living in fear in 17 states. Red flag laws that let police seize your firearms without any crime being committed have been ruled unconstitutional across the board. These laws turned your constitutional rights into a suggestion that could be revoked based on someone's feelings. The system was terrifying in its simplicity. Your ex-spouse gets angry, a coworker doesn't like your politics, a neighbor sees you cleaning your guns in the garage. Any of them could file a complaint saying they're concerned about you. No evidence required, just their word. A judge would hold a secret hearing. You wouldn't know it was happening. You couldn't defend yourself. You couldn't face your accuser. Based entirely on one person's story, the judge would issue an order. Then came the knock on your door, usually early morning, often a full tactical team. They'd force entry, search your entire home, and seize every firearm you owned. You weren't under arrest, you weren't charged with any crime, but your guns were gone, and getting them back meant hiring a lawyer and spending months or years in court. The new ruling obliterates this entire system. Police can only take your firearms if they're arresting you based on probable cause of an actual crime. No more secret hearings, no more guilty until proven innocent. Over 12,000 firearms were seized this way in just the last 3 years. Every one of those seizures is now being challenged in court. But if they were secretly taking guns, what else were they secretly collecting? This brings us to one of the biggest privacy victories in modern history. Every digitized gun owner record the federal government has been keeping must be permanently destroyed within 90 days. The ATF spent years building an illegal database they swore didn't exist. Federal law specifically prohibits a national gun registry, so the ATF got creative. Every time a gun store went out of business, they had to send their records to the ATF. These were supposed to stay as paper records, stored in boxes, only searchable by hand. Instead, starting around 2013, the ATF began secretly scanning and digitizing everything. They built a system that could search by your name, address, gun type, or serial number in seconds. They collected over 920 million firearm transaction records. They digitized 865 million of them. The court didn't just say stop, they ordered complete destruction with serious penalties. The ATF has 90 days to provide certified proof that every digital record has been permanently erased beyond any possibility of recovery. No backups, no archives, no copies stored with other agencies, complete and total destruction. But the surveillance went way beyond old gun store records. Multiple federal agencies were running active surveillance programs specifically targeting lawful gun owners, not criminals, not suspects, just regular Americans exercising their constitutional rights. They monitored your phone's location when you visited gun stores. Real-time alerts flagged anyone who spent more than 10 minutes at a gun store or shooting range. They tracked credit card purchases through deals with payment processors. Every purchase from a firearms dealer, ammunition retailer, or gun-related business got logged with your name and address. They scraped social media for photos of firearms, mentions of gun rights, or connections to Second Amendment groups. The court ruled that owning firearms is a constitutionally protected activity that cannot justify surveillance without a warrant based on probable cause of an actual crime. Over 50,000 American gun owners were being actively monitored through these programs. Many are now filing lawsuits, with early settlements averaging $40,000 to $65,000 per person. Now here's a change that affects anyone who's ever waited months or years for a permit. Getting a concealed carry permit just became dramatically easier, faster, and cheaper everywhere in America. The court established 3 rules every state must follow immediately. Permits must be processed within 30 days maximum. No more year-long waits, no more bureaucratic delays. 30 days or it's automatically approved. States cannot require you to prove good cause or special need. Self-defense is sufficient justification, period, and fees are capped at $50 total, including everything. Before this ruling, New York was taking up to 2 years to process permits in some areas. California was charging $300 or more in combined fees. Those games are over. In New York alone, 47,000 permit applications have been sitting for more than 30 days. Under this ruling, every single one is now automatically approved by law. But what good is a carry permit if you can't buy ammunition? Several states had created elaborate systems to make buying bullets as difficult as possible. California required background checks for every ammunition purchase. New York banned online ammunition sales completely. Connecticut limited purchases to 1,000 rounds per month. Illinois required a special ammunition purchaser ID card. All of that is gone. Buying ammunition is now treated like buying any other legal product. The court recognized the obvious truth that anti-gun states tried to ignore. A firearm without ammunition is just an expensive paperweight. Online ammunition retailers report sales to previously restricted states have increased by 340% in just 3 weeks. California alone conducted over 4 million ammunition background checks last year, with 62,000 wrongly denied due to database errors. For gun store owners, the harassment is finally over. Licensed firearms dealers now have the same protections as any other legitimate business. The ATF can no longer use minor paperwork errors as weapons to shut down stores they don't like. For decades, ATF inspectors would spend hours combing through record books looking for any tiny mistake. A serial number that's hard to read, a missing middle initial, a date in the wrong format. Any of these could trigger license revocation. The court made it clear that only actual criminal violations can result in license revocation, not typos, not formatting issues, not handwriting problems. Last year alone, the ATF revoked 122 federal firearms licenses for paperwork violations. One Pennsylvania dealer lost his license because 23 entries had dates written as month-day instead of day-month. That kind of persecution is finished. Your home is now protected from warrantless ATF inspections. Those surprise compliance checks where agents would show up at your door demanding to see your guns and records, completely illegal now. Federal agents need a warrant based on specific criminal allegations before they can search your property. The ATF conducted over 20,400 warrantless home inspections in the last 3 years. If you were subjected to one in the last 6 years, you have grounds for a Fourth Amendment lawsuit. But here's the change that's causing the most chaos in anti-gun states. You can now travel across state lines with your firearm without fear of arrest, even through the strictest gun control states in America. For years, gun owners have been terrified of driving through states like New York, New Jersey, Maryland, or Massachusetts. People were getting arrested during routine traffic stops just for passing through. They'd have their gun locked in the trunk, unloaded, in a case, with ammunition stored separately. Completely legal where they started and where they were going. Didn't matter. They'd still get arrested and charged with felonies. A Pennsylvania man driving to Vermont got pulled over in New Jersey for going 7 miles over the speed limit. He told the officer about his properly secured handgun. He was arrested and charged with a felony, carrying 5 to 10 years in prison just for driving through the state for 45 minutes. The court's ruling makes it crystal clear. If your firearm is legal where your trip starts and legal where it ends, you are protected by federal law the entire way. No exceptions, no state can touch you. In New Jersey alone, over 800 people were arrested in the last 5 years for possessing firearms while traveling through. Every one of those cases is being dismissed or overturned. These 10 changes just revolutionized gun ownership in America. Police are still learning the new rules, states are scrambling to comply, and gun owners who don't know their new rights are missing protections that could save them from wrongful arrest. Share this information with every gun owner you know. These changes are already in effect, and knowing them could be the difference between exercising your rights and ending up in handcuffs. That's it for today, folks. See you in the next video.